General Commandant, Generals Atkinson, General Milner, regimental family from all across Canada, thank you for taking the time to be here with us virtually to mark this occasion on this warm but otherwise beautiful June afternoon. As a regiment, we're fortunate. We have the caliber of officers to be our colonel of the regiments, and we've enjoyed a long string. And sir, you're going to be joining a long line of wonderful, extremely competent and caring colonels of the regiments. But if you'll indulge me for a moment, I want to reach out to the two of you on behalf of our serving regiment specifically to say a couple of words. Specifically, General Atkinson, thank you. Your leadership, your guidance, your support to our regiment as our colonel of the regiment, but also in your volunteer capacity as the president of our guild, has been nothing short of exceptional. You know, I've had the privilege for the past 2 years of working with you, and the one common thread throughout the whole time, the clear thread, is how much you care for every soldier and every officer in our regiment. You demonstrated patience, wisdom, and in providing your counsel, you've always had the best interests of our regiment in your heart. Well, the things that the colonel of the regiment does are often not visible, or often not tangible. What I can say is they're no less impactful. The entirety of our regimental family has benefited from you as our colonel of the regiment and your tireless dedication over your tenure. I know today is probably a day of mixed emotions for you, and I appreciate that. But I ask that you be proud of the work you've done over these last 3 years, much like us as a regiment are proud to have had you for our colonel of the regiment for the past 3 years. So thank you, sir. And General Milner, welcome back. These are some interesting times ahead for our regiment. I know we've discussed, and you've had an awful lot of chance to read into what's up for us in the next years. We're repatriating a battle group in the coming months. Over the next year, we're transitioning to cavalry, and we're continuing to deliver for the people of Canada here, domestically and abroad. The regiment is in a period of transition, and we welcome your energy, your leadership, and your wisdom and counsel to help guide us through this change. We look forward to seeing lots of you over the next couple of years here in the motherland, Petawawa, as well as out in Gagetown, and wherever the regiment might be. So, sir, welcome to your new tenure as colonel of the regiment.
Thank you, John.
Generals, it's been an honor to have worked with both of you over the past stretch. And if I can sum up my speech in 2 words, thank you.
Well done.
Thank you to all the Dragoons and friends of the Dragoons who are witnessing today, albeit virtual, this important event in this great place of regiment, of souvenir, of remembrance. We're here to celebrate the change of appointment of the colonel of the regiment between General Peter Atkinson and General Dean Milner. A new page in the history of the regiment is about to be written. I'm extremely honored to officiate this ceremony. This appointment ensures a continual strand in the regiment's esprit de corps, and it provides a channel of communication, formal or informal, with other elements of the Army and beyond if required. As such, the colonel of the regiment works closely with the regimental headquarters, the association, the guild, the cadets, and the friends of the regiment. Quite the task. Our current colonel of the regiment, General Peter Atkinson, has completed his appointment with no less than brio, even under the difficult circumstances brought on by this pandemic. His commitment throughout his tenure set an example for all and has greatly assisted the regiment in all their undertaking. He's a leader, a team builder, a hands-on guy. Peter took on his responsibility with fervor. That is how he's characterized him. In French, Peter means pierre, a stone. Durable, resilient, our stoner is no different. Beyond his role as mentor and custodian of regimental traditions, Peter was present, not just present, but seen at all major regimental activities. He spearheaded the reorganization of the Guild, ensuring a new streamlined approach to doing business. Also, he was instrumental in leading the preparations for the Leeuwarden 75th anniversary in Europe, unfortunately postponed by COVID. Partie remise. He assisted also with much energy the writers and the editor of the new regimental history into their second century. These are just a small strand on the regiment that Peter has brought. In short, Peter, mission accomplished. On behalf of our regiment, thank you for your selfless dedication and service, and we wish you and Diana a great retirement once again, and we hope that you get many more trips in that beautiful motorized camper of yours. Well done, Peter. Your incoming Colonel of the Regiment, Major General Dean Milner, is no stranger to this regiment. With this new appointment, as we're in the hockey season, you will have completed a hat trick, having been commanding officer, senior serving dragoon, and now Colonel of the Regiment. I have no doubt that he will succeed in his new responsibilities. Dean is a soldier's soldier. The welfare of the troops is his priority. Coming from an excellent military family stock, he will bring to the appointment the energy, great personality, and that charm which has served him well throughout his career. On behalf of the regiment, I make their pourparlers. I welcome you back to service, and you and Katrin, and we wish you an excellent tenure.
Thank you.
Well done.
Thank you, George.
Well, it feels great to be here back in Petawawa and specifically in Dragoon Park. The only thing that's missing this morning, this afternoon, is our soldiers, who I would be very honored to be standing in front of, but I know you're out there. Dragoons that are serving, Dragoons that are retired. Well, Colonel George, General Dino, CO, RSM, and a shout out obviously to Enno Kirchhoff and the RSM Stefan LaRouche over in Latvia with our battle group over there. You guys are doing great work. The second Dragoon battle group to be offshore in the recent past, and we know you're doing great work on behalf of the Canadian forces and our country. It has been an honor and a privilege to serve as the Colonel of the Regiment. I'm a little nostalgic today because it's actually 49 years ago when I first put a springbuck up. I was a young Dragoon cadet. I joined the RCD Cadet Corps 1972 over in Lahr, Germany. And I was wearing battle dress. And we've gone through a number of orders of dress in the meantime. We've landed on this one. In fact, the regiment at that time was serving on the Centurion tank. We transitioned to the Leopard 1. We transitioned to the Cougar. We transitioned to the Coyote and mixtures of Lav 3s. We got our Leopard 2s back, and now we've got the TAP V and a mixture of Coyotes and Lav 3s and Lav 6s. Change is something that has been a part of the Dragoons' life throughout our history. And even in this last short period of time, there has been a lot of that. I got to serve, in reality, with 4 commanding officers. I'm not sure how we did that in 3 years. But Fraser Ault was the CO when I came on board at Leeuwarden. And he immediately deployed over to the Ukraine, took the battle group over there. Then it was Rob Marois. And then we turned over to Enno Kirchhoff, and now we got an acting CO in John Mertz. I broke up my time as the Colonel of the Regiment into kind of 2 blocks. The first 18 months, which I kind of call pre-COVID, And then there's the past 18 months where we were in the thick of this thing. But that first 18 months, it was awesome. Started it off, I was a member of the RCD Association and a member of the Ottawa chapter. And I got volunteered to be the chairman of our gathering of the Dragoons in Ottawa. But what a great start to my time as the colonel of the regiment, to bring all those members of the association together in Ottawa. And we had a fantastic weekend together. And that summer, I went down to visit C Squadron and climbed on board a Leopard tank and was reminded immediately that I'm 60 years old at the time. As I climbed up onto that back deck and struggled into the turret, and I thought we called these babies agony wagons for a reason, because every bit of arthritis that I had came back in a heartbeat. But as soon as I got in the hatch, it all went away. And we were doing live fire battle runs. And I was in awe of my first squadron, C Squadron, as they did their business on that tank. And I got to spend 3 or 4 days with them. Probably the best part of that little visit, I actually went and joined the Sergeant Major in the echelon. And we went out and we did a couple running replans, and I jumped on the swamper truck and I threw jerry cans, and then I loaded up and went on the ammo truck and we handed over rounds and bombed them up. Then we went off in our hide and somebody came and bounced our hide and we had to crash harbor. That brought back a ton of memories. But it was great to see the squadron and those soldiers. Then I got the real privilege. Dave Batten, our patron, and I flew over to the Ukraine to visit our battle group overseas. We got to see the regiment deployed. And we watched them being a solid partner in NATO, helping to train those Ukrainian soldiers. We got up close and personal with a bunch of T-72 tanks. In fact, Dave Batten wasn't supposed to, but he's small enough. Nobody saw him, and he drove that T-72 down the road. But the chance to visit our soldiers and see them in action there was second to none. I got to present medals to all of our soldiers there. The real special one, I went to Kiev, and we got to have a tour around Kiev with another Dragoon, who just happened to be my son, Mitchell. And to see Mitchell working in the embassy and seeing what he was doing, then we went out to dinner that night, and I gave him his tour medal in a Ukrainian restaurant while we were eating Ukrainian barbecue. And I got to tell you, that was a pretty special moment for me. But then we came back to Canada, to come up to Petawawa, and I'd come up here when the troops were training, come up for Lily-Fontaine, Lee Warden, men's Christmas dinner, sports days, hockey games, all those things that are part of the regimental life. And I was absolutely proud to be here and be a part of those whenever I could. Nice thing being in Ottawa, I was just down the road. If something was going on, the CO could pick up the phone, and a couple hours later I could be here. A very proud moment was sitting down watching our regiment receive the freedom of the town of Petawawa, and watch the CO and RSM on horseback as they led a parade of armored vehicles as we rolled around through the town of Pembroke. Pretty proud moment. I also took time to get out and visit our 3 cadet corps. Did all their annual inspections, got to go and visit them in training. Our cadets are often forgotten, never by me because that's where I started, but to see those young Canadians wearing a springbuck and wearing it proudly always did my heart a good turn. And it's a fertile recruiting ground for the Canadian Forces and our regiment. And I got to tell you, those young cadets are doing Canada and doing our regiment proud. I started off a lot of our guild work and some key spade work in that first 18 months, but it was that second 18 months when we were locked down and we couldn't do a lot of things coming to visit the troops that we rolled our sleeves up and really got a lot of the guild's business done. We finished off and produced, as George mentioned already, our regimental history, and that's something that I am very proud of. I convinced Mike McNorgan to be our author back about 10 years ago. And so when I came back as the colonel of the regiment, he was just about finished the writing, and then we were able to get that thing back on the rails. And it's an awesome history. And if you as a Dragoon don't have your regimental history book yet, your new one, you need to call the kit shop and you need to get one, because it is an awesome book and the second edition in our history. The biggest thing I learned during the pandemic is the importance of staying in touch and reaching out to your fellow Dragoons, no matter where they are on the globe, no matter what they're doing. Phone calls, emails, text, Facebook, it doesn't matter. Reaching out and checking on your battle buddies is something that was reinforced by this pandemic because it affected a lot of people in a very bad way, being locked down and all the unknowns that are out there. And that just underscores how important our Dragoons Association is. Under the leadership of Dennis Levesque, Dennis has shouldered this up, and he was a stalwart, both in the association and in the guild, and about getting people to come on board and reaching out and making that contact. So if you're not a member, if you're a Dragoon and you're seeing this today and you're not a member of the association, you need to reach out to Dennis Levesque and join, because that association allows you to stay in touch with your fellow Dragoons, allows you to look after each other and take care of each other. It's what you do with your battle buddy, and it's what you do with your fellow Dragoons. I absolutely want to thank the 2 Regimental 2ICs that I got to work with hand in glove over the period of time. First, it was Matt Johnson, and then John Meritz. And then there's that lady that sits upstairs in F-104 who has been the continuity since January of 1988, Muggsy. Muggsy Bolam, we love her. She's the glue in the sandwich up here. She knows everybody. She's a font of knowledge. She's got a hug for everybody all the time. And we are just so fortunate as a regiment to have had someone like her. She's our other colonel of the regiment in what she has done for us over the years. But Tom Skelding, living over in Newfoundland, and I need to mention a couple of the guys because of all the effort and the time they put. Tom was helping me to organize that trip to Leeward. Unfortunately, we got knocked off the podium, but we're working with the Dutch and we hope to be able to go next Leeward. Dennis Levesque, I already mentioned, but I talk to Dennis on a weekly basis about regimental business and about how we reach out Dragoons, how we find people, lost trails. Dave Batten, our patron. Davey has been in behind the scenes, whether it be fundraising, whether it be connecting, just doing things that mattered. Davey has always been a power in behind the scenes, helping out soldiers, and a proud day this year when we got to commission his son into our regiment. Proud day for him, and a proud day for his son to be able to look back on his dad and all the things that you have done for your regiment, Dave. Thank you. And then all those members of the guild, all the heavy lifting that they did, all the things that we accomplished are accomplished by a team approach. And I want to thank each and every member of the board for all the great work they did over the last 3 years. We accomplished a lot for a regimental family. We still have lots to do. Dean, I've left some stuff for you. I'm happy to hand over to Dean Milner. He and I got some history. We actually went to high school together. He was 2 years behind me. He was in my sister's class. We actually got to play a little football together. And when I was that young cadet, Dean's dad, Clive Milner, was the CO. That's dating us a little bit, Dean. But Dean and I did a handover back in 2011 as Deputy Corps Commander in Fort Hood at 3 Corps. And I'm happy to do this handover to Dino today. I know that the regiment is in great hands. And on that note, it is a fine day to be a Dragoon. I am honored, privileged, and it has been a great ride. Thank you very much. God bless.
Well done, Peter.
It's great to be here. And I'll tell you, just the feel of being in between 2 tanks sure motivates you right off the bat. Being home in Petawawa, I'd sure like to see some troops out there, but that's where we are right now with COVID. But again, it's outstanding. It's a real honor to be taken over as your colonel of the regiment. I'd like to mention a few people, and I'll tell you, Dragoons are full of inspirational people, and one of them is right here. Our Colonel Commandant, George, you've been a mentor, you've been a leader, you've been an outstanding officer, and I look at you now. We were trying to figure out how many years George has supported us, this great Canadian force of ours, and the Armor Corps. And it's too many to count, George. We're trying to figure out if he needs another rosette. But again, George is an inspirational guy. The knowledge and dedication that you put into this Corps, George, 7 years as our Colonel Commandant. Very, very impressive, George. And I thank you and Mo and just everything that you put into this Corps. Thank you very much. Peter, I'll talk about you in a minute, but great job as Colonel of the Regiment. The acting CO and acting RSM, thank you for organizing this. Great stuff right off the bat. I'm probably not even supposed to mention it, but the brigade commander's here. And the brigade commander's a great officer. He's letting us do this today. We've soldiered on. He's a trainer. He's a leader. Great to have you. And the guy next to him, Dave Batten, we started linking up when I was CO. He started out as a corporal. He's moved on, and he's been our patron for God knows how many years. But the dedication and the powerful person that you are supporting this regiment, Dave, hats off to you. And I know we got a lot to come in the next 3 years. I even took him out to the field where you could just feel that soldier bond. But nobody has given as much to the Guild as you have, Dave, and I really appreciate that. Our senior servant, Daryl Cross, would have loved to have been here. He was an OC for me, great leader, and I know it's tough for a lot of those not to be here. The former Director of Armor, Steve Graham, promoted the other day, great officer heading to Israel. Good old Peter mentioned Dennis Levesque. I said I wouldn't need those, and I won't. But Dennis Levesque, I feel bad because I was out yesterday with the troops, and there's nothing better than being out with the troops. They're running the crew commander course. It ended yesterday, and I'll tell you, Dennis has been the president of our association, and what a better guy to connect people, lead them, and help bring that regimental family together. Dennis, you were my RSM. We live very close to each other. We still do a lot of things together, and I'm really looking forward to continuing to work with you. A lot of the members of the Guild, Peter's created a great team there. Former Guild members, new Guild members, really do thank you all. There's a number of Dragoons that have mentored me through the years, not just officer, NCO, and I could go on. You know, the Terry Shaws, the Larry Beatons, the Teddy Betts, even the Marchands, the Bucket Mouths of the world, my, Charlie crew commanders and stuff. All of those RSMs, just outstanding. We are just full and blessed with leaders. And I could go on the officer's side, the Hilliers, the Natinchuks, all the way down. But it is great to be here. And I sure do miss having a bunch of troops on parade. But it's fitting to do this, and we needed to get on with it despite COVID. I'll tell you, it is an honor. It's an absolute honor to become the colonel of this regiment. This is an outstanding regiment with a tremendous history. I'll tell you, it is really, what inspires you being a Dragoon is you start out as a crew member. You start out as the crew of that Charlie tank. You work your way up from crew commanding up to troop leading. But the soldiers that I've soldiered with and officers, there's nothing better than this team-oriented, aggressive bunch of soldiers. That's why we're that good. The Dragoons have always been that, but I always base that on the crew, the team that we are. We take on challenges, we're visionary, we maneuver, and we're adapting as we speak. Right now we're looking at cavalry. We've been tankers, we've been recce, or we're looking at how we stay aggressive. It's great to come in to assist and help mentor and advise on where the Dragoons are going. We've had a number of tremendous, inspirational, impressive colonels of the regiment. And I'll tell it, Peter, you have done some outstanding work. You put your heart and soul into the job. I mean, I feel it. I haven't been handed over so well by too many people, but I'll tell you, 2 solid days, and I felt like I was, just outstanding. But I could feel the energy and the leadership that you put into that role over the last 3 years, caring for the troops, advising the troops, mentoring the troops. Just absolutely fantastic. I know. And you and I have communicated back and forth for quite a long time. We're football guys, and we just have that mentality, the team approach. But Peter, you've been that team guy, but you've been huge to this regiment. The Guild is a beast, and it's about the troops. It's about supporting the regimental family, right? It's about supporting the troops. There's nobody that has advanced the Guild. And I'll tell you, it's an administrative beast. And the governance, the budgetary stuff, the team that he's put together, he's made it easy for me. I mean, I've got to sign a couple things. He's given me guys like Jimmy Farron and Billy Fulton and a bunch of others. But I'll tell you, we will be able to support the regiment. We've got money. We've got capabilities. We're going to continue promoting our traditions, our history, and I'll tell you, supporting the troops. I'm spending money. We bought barbecues. It's about morale, and I want morale. We need it. I mean, COVID's been tough, but again, Peter, an absolutely just an exceptional job as Colonel of the Regiment. Hats off to Diana for having to probably put up with you, because I know you work that much, but put your feet up now, get into that RV, and enjoy some time with Diana. So I give him a big hand. We don't have a big crew to give you a big hand, but give him a big hand. You too, Davey. Drop that camera. I'm not going to talk. I'm the new guy, so I said I wouldn't talk. General Hillier gives me a hard time when I talk too much. I look at Anouk Kirchhoff, the CO. He's over in Latvia with the RSM LaRouche and a bunch of Dragoons. A great leader. He's representing this country, 10 other nations, deterring against the Russians. Fighting, training, just doing some great work. He's left a strong team behind him. And I look at the tempo of the regiment. The tempo of the regiment never slows. And I'm not quite sure how, but it continues to get quicker. Brigade Commander, don't let it get too much faster than it is. But having said that, they're going into a build phase, and that's a deployment phase. So guess what that means? They get all the resources, they're going to get all the effort, they're going to get all the beans and bullets, and they're going to have another tremendous training year that'll culminate in an exercise out in Wainwright, which will set them up for potentially more deployments. But I really look forward to spending time. I was out in the field yesterday, and I'll tell you, what a better feeling, again, being out with the troops. And I live a few hours down the road, and I can jump in my car and come up anytime, and I will. I got a few plans coming later in the month, and I know the CO and the RSM are coming back mid July, but I will be up whenever I can to support the regiment and see Dragoons in the field doing what we do best. And I'll end by saying, I'll tell you, we're all fed up with COVID. How you soldiers and Dragoons have operated and led and soldiered through these COVID times, it's quite remarkable. I'll tell you, it's tough having to wear a mask, having to get teams together, but you keep doing it, and you need to. And I know I think we're close to getting through this, but I sure hope that we can have the Lily Fontaines, that we can do the Lee Warden that Peter talked about, that we can get the RCD reunions going. And I do want to reach out to all Dragoons across the country, all the chapters, ERE, former ERE, no matter what, but just to make sure that we're all connected in this outstanding fine regiment of ours. So proud day to be a Dragoon, and I'm sure Jimmy was here. He'd say, what is it? It's another fine day to be a Dragoon. So, but thank you, and I'll end it there before I carry on some more. But thank you. Yeah, I salute the troops. I know you're out there somewhere.